everyone, Pam Gregory. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the first half of May and the full moon that we have in Scorpio coming up on the 10th. Now, we have a lot of intensity. I'm sure you're very well aware at the moment, and I'll be speaking more about what is linked to that in a moment. But just to say, for the first couple of days of May, if you have anything between 19 and 25 degrees of the cardinal signs, those are Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, the moon is coming into, well, it's forming a cardinal grand cross with that ongoing T-square that I've talked so much about between Pluto and Capricorn. The moon is in Cancer, opposing it on the 1st, squared to Jupiter in Libra, and the moon is also square to Mercury, Uranus and Eris in Aries, and it moves to that exact square on the 2nd of the month. Now, this is something, because the moon moves quickly, this is something that the moon does every month, but it may make you feel even more intense, restless, a surge for change, and torn between security, emotional and practical security issues, and your own independence. So that may be something that comes around fairly often. It may manifest in relationships for you, it may manifest in finance perhaps for you, in your work. So just sort of be aware of that, and it's only going to be transitory. However, what we've also got at the moment, which is adding to that, is for the last week of April and the first half of May, we have a strong conjunction between Mercury and Uranus. This is happening 23 to 25 degrees of Aries. Now, Mercury is currently retrograde. It will go direct on the 3rd of the month, but still it is hovering around that 24-25 degrees of Aries conjunction with Uranus. Now, this is quite intense because with Uranus you always get the feeling of time being speeded up. So in this case, the mind is going to be speeded up. So you may find that there is a lot of information coming at you very quickly that you have to process, particularly if you've got anything 24-25 degrees of the cardinal signs, particularly if that's Aries. You're going to feel that your mind is very buzzy. Mars is also in Gemini. That's energizing the mind. But coming back to this conjunction, just try and stay grounded. Keep your bare feet on the grass, meditate, stay slow, stay grounded, because you can get quite revved up with this combination. However, it is terrific for new ideas. It can bring brilliant, original, out-of-the-box, lateral, creative thinking and new perspectives on things that you just hadn't seen before, because Mercury is lower mind. It's together with Uranus, which is higher mind. It's also our superconscious. It's often referred to as the mind of God. So it's that higher octave of Mercury. So we're connecting to something which is a much higher vibration mentally. So take those opportunities for that new thinking, because Mercury and Uranus are in very positive aspect. It's a trine to Saturn, and Saturn is on the galactic center. So this has two messages. Firstly, it's talking about this futuristic, visionary information that we may be getting at this time in the first half of May. So really benefit from that, because that could change our forward direction. And it's very much about truth. Uranus, the planet, is very connected to our truth. The sign of Sagittarius, where Saturn is at 27 degrees, that's very much about truth. So it's a wonderful time to get sort of piercing clarity on something. This Mercury-Uranus combination as well is quite a revolutionary combination. It can bring forth shocking news in the world media, surprising news, shocking news that the world just didn't expect. So be aware of that too. But for yourself, it gives you some very clear benefits on your thinking. Now, Uranus has an 84-year cycle. So for the last year or so, it's been hovering between sort of 22 to 24 degrees of Aries. It's now going to start to move in May from 25 of Aries into those last degrees of Aries, and therefore hitting those last degrees of the cardinal signs. 25 to 30 degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. If you have any planets there, you might really feel this, because Uranus is the planet of awakening. It's also the planet of fast-moving radical change. So if you have anything in those areas, you're very likely over the next year or so to feel quite stirred up in those areas. So it's very much about truth, finding your own truth. It's going to be very interesting. Uranus moves into Taurus in May next year. It's a year away. Taurus is connected to our physical bodies. It's the sign most associated with the earth. It's also connected to food production, agriculture, our resources, banking. And when Uranus moves in there, we're quite likely to see some really revolutionary and radical changes in those areas. But I'll be talking about that much more as we get closer. However, I think what we're receiving now with this Mercury-Uranus combination is a lot of truth about our food production, a lot of truth about the drugs we may take, a lot of truth about the vaccines we have to have. And those truths, as they come through to us, may condition what happens as Uranus moves into Taurus, because we are all here co-creating that energy. So the other aspect of truth is that Saturn at the galactic centre, it's 27 of Sagittarius, is exactly square to Chiron at 27 of Pisces. Now this is calling on a deeper truth. Pisces is unfathomable. So this is calling us to live more deeply than we have before, to live at a deeper level of meaning and truth. So to walk your talk, to be authentic. I've mentioned this several times recently. And what emphasises that yet again, it's a very strong month, May, for Uranus and Aquarius, which it rules. Because also in May on the 9th, the nodal axis, which moves backwards through the signs, is moving from Virgo Pisces into Leo Aquarius. Now, Aquarius represents, well, the whole axis represents our line of collective destiny, where we're headed. Now, the South Node is where we've been, and traditional astrology will often say we have to move away from our South Node, but I actually feel we need to integrate the learnings from our South Node into where we're headed with our North Node in Leo. So Aquarius, again, is about our truth. It's about challenging the status quo, challenging the mainstream views, being an individual, standing up for your own beliefs, often espouses alternative ideas. The North Node in Leo, where we're headed, is about leadership. It's about becoming a leader for some of those individual ideas, becoming a spokesperson, becoming a trailblazer. So it's also a very interesting shift from head, Aquarius, to heart, Leo. Leo is heart energy. So this is a real encouragement for us to live from the heart, to not just be here to make a living, but be each of us here to make a difference in the world, living from the heart and standing up for what we believe peacefully, but standing up for that. It's very interesting as well, we're already seeing this in the world, because Leo is big leadership, big nationalistic leadership. We're seeing that in various parts of the world. We've seen that in America, we've seen it recently in Turkey. It'd be very interesting to see what happens in the French elections, and I'll be writing about that in my monthly newsletter, where I can go into much more detail than I can in these videos, and you can just subscribe to that newsletter, pamgregory.com or thenextstep.uk.com, and it's a newsletter of several thousand words going into world events such as we're having at the moment with the French election. But just watch that shift into big leadership that we're seeing, but equally more important to stand our ground as individuals too. Then on the 10th of the month at 2:42 p.m. Pacific and 10:42 p.m. UK time, we have a full moon at 2024 of Scorpio. Now, full moons are all cycles of completion, culmination, fruition. They can be full of emotion because they are the peak of the moon cycle. The moon is connected to our emotions in astrology, so we can feel full of feeling. All the more so because Scorpio is a water sign, and all the more so because Scorpio is the most intense water sign. So we are likely to be feeling a lot of intense emotion at this time, very strong emotion. Now, a full moon is a great time to release, just let things go that no longer serve us. And again, that's especially the case with Scorpio, because Scorpio tends to repress, to hold down energy. From way back, it can repress energy. So it's an even bigger call to release all of that emotion, those behaviour patterns that no longer serve us, and move on to our new thinking, which we're getting with the Mercury-Uranus conjunction. Scorpio is also a terrific sign for focus. It's probably the most focused sign of all of the signs. It gives a kind of laser beam focus. So you can really start to move ahead with this original thinking and this terrific focus that you're going to have at the full moon. So it's a very vigorous month, May. We still have a lot of planets in fire signs. We have Saturn, Sagittarius, we have in Aries, we have Mercury, Venus, Uranus and Aries. So there's a lot of action, a lot of fiery action happening. The mind will be very revved up, as I say, and that's reinforced by Mars being in Gemini, which is the mental function, that energizes the mental function. So it's interesting to note, however, that Neptune is square to Mars. Now that can give us spiritually inspired action. We can be very aware of our spiritual values as we take that action. But also it can give us real inspiration. It's very good for things like yoga, tai chi, qigong, spiritual action. In its lower sense, which often manifests in the world, it can be muddled, Neptune muddled, or confused action, or action taken at sea, which isn't thoroughly thought through. So again, be aware of that side of the aspect. But certainly you will want to act quickly. This combination, this mutual reception between Mercury in Mars' sign and Mars in Mercury sign, you will want to act quickly. Just make sure you're not acting precipitously. And then we still have this ongoing T-square, in fact, between Jupiter at 14 of Libra, Pluto at 19 of Capricorn, and Mercury, which is part of the picture this month, Uranus and Eris, 24 to 25 degrees of Aries. So this is just a surge for political, social, economic change, a surge for that, because we want to see more equality, more fairness, more justice in society. And the Aries side of this, I mean, Aries is I am. Aries means I exist. And so we could see issues of human rights coming to the fore even more as we get into May. So it's going to be a very buzzy, fast, full, rich month with some very surprising turns of events happening. Really recommend you keep your feet on the ground, meditate, find quiet times where you cut out of any excessive mental input. Just hold your energy steady. And I'd like to finish with a beautiful Sabian symbol, which feels so right for this time. It's for 21 of Scorpio, and it is, obeying his conscience, a soldier resists orders. The readiness to face the results of a refusal to follow the authoritarian patterns of an aggressive society. I think that's really interesting at this time. But enjoy this full moon, this amazing, full of emotion full moon in Scorpio on the 10th. If you'd like more information about my books, tutorials, newsletter, just check out my website, pamgregory.com, or thenextstep.uk.com. If you don't know where these aspects fall in your chart, check out this link above. That will explain everything you need to know about the what does it mean for me question. Enjoy the first half of May, and the second half will be equally rich. Thanks for listening.